Welcome to Travel with Danny and MJ.
I'm Mary Jane.
And I'm Danny. We're traveling the world with just carry-ons and a backpacky.
Hello. We're off to Wicklow.
A little pre-dawn train ride down the east coast of Ireland, south of Dublin, on our way to Wicklow. Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. It's a gorgeous morning here. There's swimming.
That water has got to be cold.
Guys swimming in the water down there. Yeah, we've gotten to Wicklow. We're standing in front of the monument to the famous sailor, Captain Halpin. We discovered that it's more of a seasonal town, and the tourist office is closed in November until June. So we're making our way on our own. We found the Heritage Trail. We're going to follow that around and see what we see in the town of Wicklow. This is the Bridge Tavern, which is the birthplace of Captain Robert Halpin. And Robert Halpin is famous because he was the captain of the ships that laid the first transatlantic cables that allowed Europe and North America to be connected. The cable ran from the western shore of Ireland to Newfoundland, and then the cables could run on land from there. And that was a tremendous move forward in communications worldwide. This is the Stone Bridge. It's also called Bachelor's Walk, across the river here. And it's very much a nautical town right on the water. Now on the pedestrian bridge. Just downriver there was the Stone Bridge, which we just walked over a little bit ago. That was built in 1690. This bridge is much newer, in the middle of the 20th century, 1947 or so. This was built. Lots of birds hanging out here. And downriver, or upriver, I should say. Just a bit more of nature, trees and such, but quite a peaceful, lovely setting. We're now in the cemetery of the Church of Ireland, and here is the memorial gravestone for Charles Halpin. And here he died, clipped his toenail and didn't take care of it. It was infected, and he died pretty quickly from that. So the lesson there is, you cut yourself, take good care of it, don't let it get infected and kill you. From the church graveyard, and the kind of a beautiful view over the town and out to the sea from here. Quite lovely. One of the things we learned about this river is that it's the largest, shortest river in Ireland. It deposits a lot of water into the sea, but it has a very short length of the river. Considering the volume of water that it has. These are the Abbey grounds. They're under renovation, so we can't really visit them. But it was created in the 1200s. It was confiscated during when the Church of England outlawed Catholicism. It was then used as a jail and other functions. It was then returned to the Catholics when the penal laws were revoked. There's a famous story of the archbishop that was supposed to take over here before Catholicism was outlawed, and he was murdered in 1799 under suspicious circumstances. So we're at the St. Patrick's Church here in the town of Wicklow, where this was the church in the late 1700s where Catholics were not allowed to build great churches, but that church was replaced in the 1800s by this much more magnificent church. So this was built in the early 1800s, kind of finished in the mid 1840s, or not finished, but mostly finished, and opened. But because right after it was opened in 1844, the famine began, and lay unfinished without stained glass windows, without a bell tower, for another 40 years or 45 years before it could be completed. The story, it had anyway, a 4-ton bell in the clock tower at the top that was so heavy that the horses couldn't bring it up, because we're up at a bit of a hill here. The horses could not bring it up. The townspeople had to tie ropes to themselves basically and haul it up. It was carried up into the tower, lifted up high. It was actually too heavy for the support beams. It fell. No one was injured, but then they reinforced it, and it was up in that tower for over a century. This is the exterior of the Wicklow jail, which was built in the early 1700s and served as a prison right up through the Irish Civil War in the 1920s. So we're in the Wicklow jail, but even in here they have a section that commemorates Captain Halpin, the famous mariner from here who captained the Great Eastern and laid the first transatlantic cable. So in the jail, there's a lot of exhibits about life in the prison. And each of the cells has a little audio about the person who was in there. So the first one is the oldest prisoner, which was a woman of 90 years. Next one was a priest of 72 years, who was the first recorded prisoner. And then the lower part is the oldest part of the prison, which is from the 1700s. And then it was extended over the years into the 1800s. It was mostly closed at the beginning of the 1900s, but was reopened for a little while during the 1916 rebellion and the Civil War. The part of the exhibit in the jail is a recreation of the sailing ships that went to Australia. One of the very common sentences was called transportation, which they'd be taken away from Ireland and England and the main British Isles and sent to places like Australia or even the Americas or the Caribbean to populate those colonies, and which were very unsettled and treacherous places to be. And down here they have conditions of the passengers. They had to mostly stay below deck in the holds, limited rations, mutinies that were rarely successful until they reached wherever they were being transported. We're at the top level of the jail here, looking down. Some more exhibits. This is the much more modern part of the jail, so to speak. It was built much later than the lower level. In the 1800s, there was prison reform, so things were better, not great, but because the old jailers were still wanted to keep their old ways. The laws increased sanitation, increased food, and conditions for the inmate. This is the 1798 monument, Market Square, really kind of the main town square here. The person at the top is Billy Byrne, who is one of the, not even a leader, but one of the martyrs, so to speak, of the 1798 rebellion. He was put to death made an example of, even though he was kind of, if a leader at all, a low-level leader. But he has become a rallying cry for that rebellion. So I'm up on the top of the kind of promenade of the North Pier here in Wicklow Harbor, and it's quite beautiful looking out over the sea, and then turning around and walking out towards the lighthouse up at the end of this pier, and back into Wicklow. Kind of a very industrial pier in the middle there, but going this way, it's actually quite nice with the coastal hills up off in the distance there, and the town out that way. Really is beautiful seaside community. I think up there a little bit is what's called the Black Castle, which we're gonna head up to now to see it closer. But just right along the Irish coast here. Beautiful day. Weather's turned, it's a little overcast, but a pretty nice day. Did I mention how beautiful this is here? No, not sure. Really stunning seaside. This is the Black Castle of Wicklow. It was originally a Norman fortification that they created, in the early 12th century. Continued on through the years. It was many battles and wars were fought here against the Irish chieftains. Wins and losses by the Normans and the chieftains, until finally in 1645 the Normans were finally completely defeated, and the castle was ruined and destroyed for the most part. The upper part is the fortifications, the main battlement, and this part below is more of kind of barracks and living quarters. So this beach down below us is where in 432 St. Patrick and some other priests landed briefly, as they were not welcomed by the locals. They were pelted with stones and forced to set sail back out and find another more hospitable place in Ireland to land and spread the Catholic Church throughout Ireland. One of those priests returned to this area, and that time was welcomed and was able to set up a church, and the church was eventually named for him, Montan, which means toothless, because during the attack, when they tried to arrive here, his teeth were knocked out, some of his teeth anyway. And the name of the place, Kilmantan, which translates somehow into Wicklow, is how the place got its Gaelic and English names. The lady is descending. She's so graceful. around Wicklow, especially in the port area near the Black Castle. Those cannons were put in place hundreds of years ago, but have never actually been used in anger or in warfare. And they are there, have been there as a preventative measure to protect the harbor.